Welcome in to the Rockies Insider. I'm your Rockies Insider here inside of Coors Field. Patrick Lyons bringing you the wrap-up on this Philadelphia Phillies series, the worst start in Rockies history, in baseball history. News on Chase Dollander hitting the IL, Carson Palmquist's debut at Coors Field, and a little preview about the Yankees series coming up starting on Friday. 3-game set before the Rockies go out on the road for 9 games, a 3-city trip, which is going to be rough. Gas Can already getting things started off in the chat. Headed back from the game. Look, there were 23,000 folks at the ballpark on Thursday. Attendance was typically what you would think in this final week of school for a lot of the Denver area schools. Friday will really be the start of summer and Memorial Day weekend. Yankees come to town, and then we'll see some close to 40,000 every game, just about, certainly on the weekends, and certainly for those bigger matchups. It'll be interesting to see what happens when the Dodgers come to town because they play weekday games. They're not actually here on the weekends. But let's talk about the worst start ever in Major League Baseball history. 2-0 loss, shutout at the hands of the Phillies. Philadelphia's first 4-game sweep at Coors Field. Rockies fall to 0-7 against the Phillies this season, dropped to 8-42. That is a 26 win pace, 136 losses. Now, the previous record for worst start over the first 50 games was only a couple years ago. It was the 2023 Athletics when, boy, the vibes there were really bad as they were just planting the seeds for moving to Las Vegas. And they intentionally, in my estimation, intentionally put together a really bad team to be bad and help their cause to say, Oakland, you're just not doing it for us right now. The attendance is really bad. The stadium's really bad. We are now forced to move somewhere else. That was part of the intention of John Fisher, in my estimation, for getting things to go in that direction of going to Las Vegas and maybe getting a little less crap for it. That being said, those 2023 A's that were put together to be really bad still won 2 more games than this version of the Colorado Rockies. Someone had joked on social media that Colorado would possibly lose 50 games before they reach 10 wins. And I thought, no, that's probably not going to happen. If you said, are they going to win 10 games before they lose 40? I would have thought, yeah, that's a good mark. And they came close, 8-42. They nearly got to 10 wins before 40, but yeah, they very well may lose 50 games before they win their 10th game because they got these 3 games against the Yankees, one of the best teams in the American League, first place in the AL East. Then they go on the road, as I mentioned, for 3 cities. Cubs, first place in the NL Central. Mets, towards the top of the National League standings. And then 3 in Miami against a team that's under 500, and yet Colorado typically has trouble at Marlins Park playing at sea level. 8-42 is their record, a 160 winning percentage. The previous worst record in Rockies history was 14-36. Think about that. 6 games off of what was the worst start in franchise history. And that was by the 1993 expansion club. There was nothing. They had nothing in 1992. There were no players whatsoever. They didn't exist in 1992 in the way they did in 93. Sure, they were on their way, but there just weren't players. There were some minor leaguers, and not for the entire year even, but they didn't exist. So an awful start in 1993 for an expansion club, certainly understandable. This is not. This is unacceptable. This is now the 8th time this season, following the 2-0 loss on Thursday to the Phillies, that they've been swept in a series. It's their 3rd time at Coors Field. Now, this is the 8th time they've been shut out, tied for most in the majors with the Pirates and the Reds following this loss on Thursday. They allowed 50 hits in this series. It's a 4-game set, so that's going to make the number a little bit bigger, but even still, most by a team in a single series so far this year. Now, there is some good. Let's get to the good, and then we'll get more to the bad, or really what's just reality, right? Germán Marquez, very good. 7 innings pitched, only allowed 4 hits, gave up 2 runs. Only one of those was earned, walked 2, struck out 5 for his third quality start of his season. Second against the Phillies, a really good Phillies lineup. He allowed 1 run in his 13 innings pitched against Philly this season, 1 here at Coors and 1 at Citizens Bank Ballpark. Back-to-back starts at home in which he threw 7 innings and allowed just 1 earned run. He becomes the first Rocky starter to throw at least 7 innings and allow 1 or fewer earned runs in 2 consecutive home starts since he did it back on May 21st and June 1st of 2021, that all-star season that he had. His fastball location was there for him. He said post-game that if he can't get ahead with his fastball, his curve just isn't as effective, right? You have to get it ahead. The best pitch a pitcher can throw is a first pitch strike. Starting at a count 0-1 changes everything. So Marquez, has he turned a corner? Maybe. Look, this is his first full season since coming back from Tommy John surgery. So this is going to be a slog for him. This is going to be a very long campaign, but this is something positive that he needs to have and get a lot of that confidence back. He was very confident in talking with him post-game. And there have been times earlier on the season and late last year where he wasn't confident at all. And that's unfortunate for a guy that is an all-star or has been in the past and is still young, is still only 30 years old. He still has a lot of baseball, I believe, in his future. So good for him to feel better. And, we'll have a much better opportunity to go out and have some success in Chicago, probably lining up for Tuesday in that series at Wrigley. Getting too far ahead. On Thursday, Brenton Doyle continued to stay hot, had his first triple of the season. His first since last August, believe it or not, was 2 for 3, had a walk, stole a base. His 3 extra base hits that he's recorded in the month of May all came during this Phillies series, was 5 for 12 with 2 runs during these 4 games. So he's really getting himself back on track. And that move from Warren Schaefer out of the first spot in the lineup, where I'm not going to say that there was pressure. Certainly there is a difficulty in coming in from center field and getting yourself ready immediately. And that was something that Doyle, look, guys are not going to say no to an opportunity like that. And I think he relished that spot in batting first for Bud Black, doing that when Charlie Blackmon wasn't available. But now, in order to try to get some momentum to build for him, I think Warren Schaefer has done a nice job with putting Jordan Beck at the top of the lineup and hitting Brenton Doyle 5th. So that's one of those changes that Warren Schaefer simply doesn't feel married to. And there's another one I'm going to be getting to in just a little bit. Not being married to any of these players, any of these positions, any of these spots in the order. And so far, that's really benefited the offense just a little bit, despite the fact that, they did not score any runs. Ezequiel Tovar, 2 for 3 with a walk, multi-hit game in 4 of his last 6 since being reinstated on the IL on May 16th. So he's batting .500 since coming back. Really good. But as I said, despite certain guys in the lineup being productive, the entire lineup 1 through 9 has not been productive. The bottom of the lineup in particular, 6 through 9, just not getting it done. Lewis alluding to something in the description. I appreciate you going into the description on YouTube. Leave a comment there, even if you are listening to this on the audio only side of things. Did Dinger's magic trick impress you? I will address that later. Look, that's the tease. I'm trying to get you to listen to the next 20 or so minutes. I got to tell you about Dinger's magic trick. That's the big pull here. But in this game, Rockies flailed badly when they had chances. Bottom of the second, 1-out triple from Doyle. Tyler Freeman, weak grounder to short with the infield in. Doesn't get it done. Not a bunt, not a ball through, not a sac fly, but a weak grounder. Farmer flies out to center field. They can't scratch a run across there. Bottom of the third, another opportunity was with 2 outs, but you had consecutive singles by the top of the order. Jordan Beck and Ezequiel Tovar to put runners on the corners. Hunter Goodman strikes out. Now, he takes strike 3, but that ball was, at least 2 baseballs off of the plate. It was very clearly a ball, and that was bad. We saw it later on when Jordan Beck got rung up for one that was a little bit closer, but was very much not a strike. Jonathan Parra having a difficult time behind the plate in that moment where Beck, he had a couple words And I think Parra was gesturing to Warren Schaefer saying, hey, get your guy here, get him under control because he's getting close. And Schaefer came out just a little bit. I did ask Schaefer, you probably didn't see this if you were watching Rockies TV, but once the cameras shut off, I did ask Schaefer about Parra a little bit. And Schaefer did say, if there had been one more bad call by Parra, whether it was a strike 3 or just something off the plate, he was getting tossed. He was getting the thumb. He was going to get bounced. So that was definitely frustrating for the offense in those spots. Bottom of the 4th, you get 2 runners on with 2 outs, ground out by Shunk. Bottom of the 6th, leadoff single by McMahon. Doesn't move from first base at all as they can't get him over in any capacity. 2-out double in the bottom of the 7th from Beck. He ends up stealing third. Tovar draws a walk, but Orion Kerkering comes in and gets Goodman to foul out to Bryce Harper on the railing for the very first pitch. And then the 8th and the 9th, Rockies go relatively quiet. Bretton Doyle with a base hit in the 9th, but otherwise not a lot happened there on Wednesday. Well, I should point out too, the one of the other big things to come out of these last 2 days is that Michael Toglia sat for the second day in a row with Kyle Farmer over at first base. We saw some issues that Farmer had at first base with a pop-up. Amador called him off really late. Poor communication with guys that just have not worked a ton together, unfortunately. But Toglia sat out. Couple things that he needs to work on. There's a plan in place. You can actually check that video out over on the Rockies Insider channel on YouTube to hear what Warren Schaefer had to say about this plan for Michael Toglia. But in the bottom of the 8th, had Farmer reached base after that 1-out single by Bretton Doyle, you'd have had 2 runners aboard, and Toglia would have come up to pinch hit for Aaron Shunk. That didn't happen, and so Nick Martini came in to pinch hit for Shunk to start the 9th. He did a nice job on Wednesday night, hitting his first home run for the Rockies. Philip asking in the chat, how confident are we with the attendance numbers? 23,000 seems a lot for what Rockies TV showed. Again, attendance is not butts and seats. It is tickets sold. So that is one of the reasons why it may not appear that there are as many at a game as there might seem to be. I do know that MLB has somewhat of a program where teams can buy their own tickets for $1 and give them away. Is that inflating the numbers just a little bit? Possibly. But overall, the numbers are down for the Rockies right now. The attendance numbers are not great. They're not the bottom of the league. I think right now they might sit 20th in the majors, which, again, depending on how you look at it, a team that's on pace for 136 losses, you're saying that's crazy that they are averaging, over 20,000 per game right now. And it's about to creep up a lot. That seems wild. Whereas on the other hand, it is less and less each year and in each game. Sure, they've got their promotions. Yes, they've got the Yankees coming to town this weekend. That is certainly going to help. But overall, the numbers are not really rising for attendance. And those who are coming to these games, they're getting some good breaks. Rockies are they're running more and more specials. So they're taking less and less for certain games than they normally would. So despite tickets sold being fairly healthy, how much are the Rockies actually getting for those tickets if they have to continue to discount to encourage people to come out to those games? So that's certainly part of the math, if you will, for why attendance seems like it might be better than it actually is. On Wednesday, it was a 9-5 loss to the Phils. Carson Palmquist making his Coors Field debut, ended up striking out Kyle Schwarber for his first major league strikeout. I think he struck out Schwarber again for his second big league strikeout. Palmquist had the baseball at his locker post-game on Wednesday. I asked him about it, and he said, yeah, that was cool, but I want my first win. Like, that's the baseball that I want that much more. So you like that he's thinking about that. Allowed 5 or more earned runs now in both of his major league starts. First Rocky started to do that since Tanner Gordon last year, and first started to allow 10 or more hits in their first home start since Eddie Butler back in 2014. Rockies had a late surge Tuesday night, but on Wednesday they had a late surge just as they did on Tuesday night, but still far from not enough. Now, the other interesting piece of information to come out from Coors Field on Thursday was Chase Dollander hitting the 15-day IL. It's going to go retroactive to his last start on May 19th with right forearm tightness. Rockies say it's somewhat precautionary right now, and he should be back after the minimum 15 days. The 23-year-old has thrown 38 and 2/3 innings during his 8 starts, 6.28 ERA. Juan Mejia has been recalled from AAA. He was out in the bullpen on Thursday, and you certainly have to have some concern anytime there's right forearm tightness. That sometimes can be an indicator of a player who may need Tommy John surgery. May is an important word in that sentence. Please hear that. May need Tommy John surgery. And that's something that you don't know now, and you may find out later on. Also, sometimes that rest, especially if it's precautionary, doesn't become anything more than that. So we will just have to wait and see. And it's expected that he'll be back after the minimum 15 days. Have the Rockies said that before with a lot of players? Yeah, they have. We'll just have to wait and see what really is the truth. Now, Dollander was supposed to start on Friday against the Yankees, and there was some thought that maybe it would be a bullpen game. Anthony Molina had not started since May 17th. Remember, he was used by the Rockies in the bullpen all of last year and for some of his outings in 2025. But when he went back to AAA on May 17th, he did go 6 innings strong. Maybe not strong to give up 6 runs, but went 6 innings. Could have been a bullpen game, as I said, maybe with Jake Bird starting, but you saw him go out with 1 scoreless on Thursday. Looks like it will be Tanner Gordon getting the spot start. Maybe he'll end up getting 2 starts with Dollander going to be on the IL. Well, he'll probably miss 2 starts. May 18th was the last time Gordon made a start. The last time he ascended the bump for the Albuquerque Isotopes. Now, I mentioned Toglia getting some rest there just a little bit. Good chance we might see him back in the lineup on Friday after 2 days of rest. There was an interesting note by Matt Gelb, who writes for The Athletic. He said, quote, in a tweet, "An all-time moment this morning at Coors Field. Johan Rojas went into the stands to make a phone call. The security guards wouldn't let Rojas back onto the field. They did not believe he was a player. Zach Wheeler had to fetch him. Rockies forever." So certainly a funny situation there that I did not witness myself. Rockies security doing a great job, right? Like if you don't have certain credentials, how do you know if somebody is dressed up as a player? Again, I don't know how many people were around. Was this before a game? I don't know the details, but good for the Rockies security staff because they do a wonderful job keeping everybody safe. You got to say that. Finally, some Yankees notes. Return of DJ LeMahieu, right? Is he active? I know he's been banged up a lot. Got to go ahead and check that active roster for the Yankees. He's getting up there, certainly in age. Yeah, he's active. He's played the last couple of days over at second base, batting towards the bottom of the lineup ahead of third baseman Jorbit Vivas. Don't know Jorbit Vivas. Left-handed hitting second baseman, 24 years old, second base, third baseman. So DJ LeMahieu will return for the second time. And how about this? Aaron Judge in his very first regular season game at Coors Field. Yes. Now, he did play here during the 2021 All-Star game, but in 2023, when the Yankees came to town, you might remember he was on the IL with that toe injury after injuring it in the fence in the outfield at Dodger Stadium. He did show up to Coors Field. I spoke with him about that and, tried to pick his brain about, the body and the rest that the body needs at altitude and how, when you trying to rehabilitate and you're going on a rehab assignment or just you want the body to rest up, coming to Denver when you don't have to is not a great thing. But Judge came and, he answered with certainly with a smile on his face. So this will be his Coors Field regular season debut. Should be super interesting. Friday's game, got a note that this game will be on 9 News. Yes, it is going over the air, 6:40 p.m. The game is going to be carried on 9 News, the first of 10 Friday home games that are going to be carried over the air on KUSA 9 News or KTVD Channel 20. And I think by my math, that's probably the last 10 Friday home games. I think they only have about like 13 homestands, something like that. I could be wrong, but Friday, that will be on Channel 9 News, and might be every Friday after that, in fact. 15 home runs for Aaron Judge at Coors Field this weekend. Maybe. I don't know what I would set my own personal line at. That's certainly been a fun thing in the press box, is saying, all right, how many strikeouts tonight? How many home runs might so-and-so give up? I do a good job at setting those lines. Again, Judge has got to get a pitch to hit. Are the Rockies going to work around him? We've seen guys come in here that are world-class and are MVP caliber. Bryce Harper, kind of quiet. I think he only had the 1 home run. Schwarber had 2 home runs. So, he's coming to Coors Field. You're thinking, 4 games for Harper and Schwarber. I mean, each of them should have at least 3. And no, combined, they ended up having 3. So probably 2.5 for 3 games. You got to say maybe 2.5 home runs for Judge. Is it going to be 2 or is it going to be 3 for him? We will just have to wait and see what he ends up producing. The starting pitching matchups on Friday, it's going to be tentatively, probably Tanner Gordon going for the Rockies against righty Clark Schmidt and his 4.41 ERA. That's, again, a 6:40 start time. And then on Saturday, normally we got 6:10 starts, but Saturday, this is, I believe, the third of 4 Saturdays that's going to be an afternoon game. It's going to be 2:10 at Coors Field, a matchup of lefties whose last names start with an F. Amazing. Is this the first time in baseball history? I don't know, but Mark Stout will know. I will have to ask him. Kyle Freeland against Max Fried, who is 6-0 with a 1.29 ERA. Incredible. And then on Sunday at 1:10, it's going to be Antonio Senzatella versus Will Warren, who is 3-2 with a 4.05 ERA. So this will be, as always, an interesting series for the Rockies to maybe try to win a game, get some momentum, because it's going to be 9 challenging games out on the road. And, I said at the beginning of this week that even if they could win at least 2 games, they can go 2-5, that's going to give them something. That might give them enough nutrients to be able to survive this upcoming road trip. But right now they're at 0-4. And, they certainly can win a game against the Yankees. Any baseball team can beat any other team on any given day. They can even win 2 out of 3. It is improbable, but they certainly could do that. So Rockies, let's see if they continue the trend of, I think they've won the final game of every homestand. I don't know if that includes the National Series. No, I think it is, because they had a doubleheader and they won that game. So it wasn't so much of a homestand so much as it was just 3 games. So they've won that final game. And considering the fact that you've got the Rockies having to travel to Chicago for a 1:00 game on Memorial Day, not sure where the Yankees are going, but there's no real major league cities around Denver. So they're going to certainly have to travel some ways. The question becomes, how quickly will Sunday's game go down? We are definitely looking at like a 2-hour, 15-minute game. If the pitchers are throwing strikes and keeping the hitters off pace, then it could be a little bit quicker than that. But look, if the guys are knocking Senzatella around or knocking Will Warren around, then that's going to drag the game on just a little bit. But I would take the under on 2.5 hours, considering the day game that the Rockies are going to have to play, and the Yankees having to go somewhere else and travel. They're going to Los Angeles to play the Angels, so not too difficult of a flight. Is that a day game? Not sure. I can't think of every possible angle. I would love to, just don't have that time. But I know you do, and you occupy your time with listening to me, and I'm absolutely grateful for that. So thank you. And if there's anything else that you want to know, you can always ask me over on the Rockies Insider channel on YouTube, also on the social medias, because my DMs are always open. If you have questions, reach out to me at Patrick D. Lyons, MLB. And again, Rockies Insider is where you got to go for the newsletter, which is free, the podcast, the live shows, the clips, and Dinger doing a magic trick for me. You got to go over to the YouTube side to see Dinger doing a magic trick, which was pretty cool. I mean, it's Dinger. So look, I like mascots as much as the next person. It was a good magic trick, had me laughing, put me in a good vibe. So I felt honored that I was the one who was selected, maybe because I was just the first one who was there. But that was fun. Check that video out. And thank you for checking me out and dropping by, giving me some wonderful momentum. But as I like to say, momentum, even here at Coors Field, for a post-game live show at Coors Field in Denver, that momentum can only be as good as my next show. So, of course, I'll talk to you then.